dump run. Hello, this is Keith. We're live now. Okay, now we're live. I didn't see the go live early on. This is Keith with How to Build Your Own Home every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We do live chat. We talk and I take questions from people out there in the field, people trying to build their own home. And I want to kind of tell you the most common problem I see as a builder now for 25 years. And I get this call probably once or twice a week, sometimes a lot more. But I get people who call and say, I want such and such built. What will it cost? And I've brought this story up a little bit, but it's always important to reiterate and bring it back up. And that is that, let's say, for example, you call a seamstress and you tell the seamstress, I'd like to have a wedding dress. And what will it cost? Well, she says, can you bring in the person that you're going to have me do a dress for? Well, why do I need that? I just want to know what the cost is for the dress, because you don't know the size of the person. The person could be a pregnant mother with triplets, or a single woman that's 19 and she's super, super petite. You don't know. And you don't know what they want on the specifications of the dress, the style, the time period, all that. And so a lot of owner builders make the biggest mistake by talking to general contractors and asking them, I want this, what will it cost? It's not that easy. And if anyone has been following me for a long time, you really can't put numbers to anything until you first go through the first steps course. That first steps course is really going to help you know what the ballpark cost per square foot is to build in your particular area. That's the first step. The next step is to design a home that fits within that ballpark. And you have to go through your engineering, your architectural, and your geotech. You have to have all those things rocking and rolling, ready to go before you can actually put numbers to it. And that's a process, but it's also an equity building process. And a lot of people don't want to go through that. And I've had many owner builders go through that, and they're glad they did, and they chose to back out, and then they built later when they were a little more ready. Others backed out, and they sold the entire plan, the geotech, the design, the architectural, all the work they did, they sold it with the land to somebody else, and they got a return. They didn't lose any money. So if you do it right, you can actually have a whole package, and it's very much like land development. Raw land, all kind of it's really messy, trees everywhere. You buy it, you plat it out, you get it approved with the county or the city, and that improves the value of the property. Now you go clean it up, you put curb and gutter into it, sewer, utilities, all that kind of stuff. Now it's increased in value. And you have to see that what you're designing, if it's done right, if you've done it and designed it right, it's adding value to the property, provided that design really, really works with the property. I've got a client I got to meet in Nevada that gave an absolutely ugly design, and I have to tell him it's ugly. Is that a good way to do it?
Yeah.
Just tell them your plan's ugly.
Sometimes it's hard because we've had to build like 2 ugly homes, and it's been hard.
Yeah. What do you do? We've built some homes for clients that we can't even put on our resume. And I don't know how else to put it. It's kind of like if somebody comes up to you and says, I want a wedding, but I want all the braids and bridesmaids and the men to be wearing fuchsia. But what's fuchsia? It's hot pink. Today it just wouldn't fly. Maybe it flew in the movie Wedding Singer back in the 80s or something, but it just doesn't fly. And so it's hard. It's hard to tell a client that what they've designed not only is unappealing in the neighborhood, but it's going to be a hard resell. How would you deal with that, honey? If you client is going to build a home and then they say, we're just going to live in it for a year and then we're going to sell it, but what they designed just doesn't act. How would you approach that?
I would get an appraisal.
Oh.
Turn on your
That is a tough one. I would probably tell them get an appraisal, or I would do a CMA for them and show them that their price point is going to go down by painting it this color or doing this and doing that. Just show them some comps, some comparable homes that sold with their features in it. That's probably what I would do.
Yeah, it's some people want to do things to a home that makes absolutely no sense now or in the future. And it didn't even make sense back in the day. Remember back in the 70s, we partitioned everything off in a home. You walk in a home, and then there's this pony wall out of nowhere with these weird spindles, all right, just out of nowhere. And they think that they're partitioning the living from the entryway. But today we just want to see it all, the open feel and all that. And so if you were to build a home that was predominantly built in the way it was built in the 70s today, and I did something like that, and it doesn't help. And so the best thing you can do, again, is don't ask what it would cost. Get some feelers out there. Talk with some people. What do you think about this design? And is it going to hold value? And you really should start thinking about holding value in your home. It's the biggest investment Americans make in their lifetime. In fact, it's where most of their nest egg is in their home. And if you're going to build something that's not going to hold value and it's just going to look like that, you have a hard time selling it, a very hard time selling it. So I wanted to kind of start the conversation off like that, and if you have some questions regarding that, that'd be great. And we'll start with some questions right away.
I actually wanted to add that this is your biggest opportunity to actually grow your wealth, your estate, your legacy by building a home. And if you do it wisely, it can really benefit you and your whole family. Okay.
Yeah, we have an open house this Sunday. So if you're in the area, Southwest Utah, my wife might be able to put up a flyer later on or a link to it. But we finished the mountain home. We'll do a complete video production of it this weekend and hopefully push it out in the next week or so. But it's for sale. And if you wanted to buy a home built by the two of us and with my wife's help, and it's a really kick-butt home. The technology, the utility, it's just really, really cool. It's one of the best things I've built. So we're going to list that for sale. And if you're interested,
it'll be Sunday.
It'll be Sunday.
Sunday 3 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5.
And it's in Pine Valley.
Yeah.
You can message us. On
just
YouTube.
message us on here.
Yeah.
My wife.
Oh yeah, message me on this chat and I'll get you info.
Okay, let's take some questions. They're starting to build back up.
Here we go.
Want to read that, Kins?
Kai. This is Kai.
Kai Hyun. After pouring the basement foundation, footings, and walls, when should I install the supporting steel beams and columns? Before or after the flat work?
After the flat work, most likely, because you have a column probably in the middle. It's going to be setting on a spot footing. Look at your plans. If the column is setting on a spot footing, you're going to have to pour the monolithic slab. But underneath that monolithic slab,
Isn't there an embed? Shouldn't there be an embed?
There'll be an embed footing. Sometimes it's a shovel footing. Sometimes it's a spread footing of 32 by 32 feet. Look at your plans. They will dig it all out, put all the rebar in, compact it, have it inspected, and then you'll pour your slab. All one monolithic slab pour. And then your columns will sit on those compression settings, and then everything's ready to go. So you can't do anything until you get that done anyway. It's going to hold you up. Good question, though.
This one I'll get.
Hi, Stefan. Okay, so do you have a link to the MLS listing for that for sale home in Pine Valley? Okay, I have to tell you that it's a builder open house. So it's not on the MLS yet. So you're actually kind of getting a VIP invitation to this open house. It's builder, because there's different rules for it. So it's a builder open house. That's why I was taking message down there. It will be on the MLS probably next week. It just takes a little bit longer to do it. But yeah, it will be on the MLS.
Okay. Thanks, honey. I'll let you read that.
Phil Peters. Keith, could you tell me the best way to word my sheetrock contract? Also, how to stipulate the quality of the sanding finish?
Are you a subcontractor or are you owner builder? I would have to answer it differently based upon those two, because you said how to word my sheetrock contract. So are you a subcontractor or are you trying to
just assume he's a builder since it's
Okay.
How to build your own home.
Are you talking about the
No.
subcontractor agreement? So I don't know how to answer that. If I was
Do we have
We have some
do we have some samples of
in
subcontracts
the course?
in the course?
what I've been collecting, and my wife and daughter don't know this, but I've been collecting bids from around the country. And what I'm thinking about doing is actually putting a course together for actual general contractors and subcontractors. So they can actually look at actual templates that they can actually utilize and go off of, that we improve a uniform that has all their specifications, call outs, inclusions, exclusions, has all those things. Speaking as a subcontractor,
Yeah.
as a owner builder, I don't know. Are you looking for level 3, level 4, level 5? I hope it's not level 5, smooth finish. What are you looking for? It's going to have to, I wouldn't try to write that. I would actually look at the bids that are coming in and then negotiate from those bids. What are you talking about?
Sorry, we're interrupting. Keep going, Dad.
So
You're great.
I don't know if you're a sub or if you're an owner builder. And if you're an owner builder, you're only working with that subcontractor agreement that's in the download section in the course. And so that's all that I would recommend, is try to work from that if they'll sign it, if they'll agree to that. And then in the specifications folder, it's called specifications for bidding. In the download section, there's a little bullet section for drywall. You go and cut and paste that, and you can send that off as an email specifying how and what you want. You can edit that too, specifying how and what you want the drywall done. So
Mhm.
look at that. It's in the download section. It's all there.
So Phil is a subcontractor agreement, but also we're not attorneys either. But
Yeah, well, we got our template contract from an attorney. So if you need help drafting one for your company, attorneys are
Yeah.
great resource to use.
But the key is getting them to specify what you want in their contract.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the trick. And that's in the download section. Look for specifications for bidding, not specifications for appraisal. It's in the folder file that says specifications for bidding. Okay.
okay, let's film in on the inside joke. This was the inside joke that got us
Oh,
here. Okay, let me go.
Our apologies for interrupting with laughter. This was the inside joke that we saw come up on the quote. It says, Kinsey, who is your favorite subcontractor and why?
oh.
It's from Parker Theobald. That's my cute husband.
Yeah.
And my favorite subcontractor is Theobald Construction because I get to work with Parker.
Right. Yeah, it says it on, they have a racing.
No, that's not the shirt.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay.
Can you read that, Kins?
Okay. Lucia Rail. Can your program and consulting help me build a house outside of the USA? I'm considering moving to Costa Rica. Oh,
Yeah, I can help you with that. That's going to be concrete and rebar, period. You're not going to be building with wood at all in that area. Very humid, and wood will get toasted very quickly with termites.
what about
So-
like the permit process?
Same
Do you
thing
think
as-
it's similar
It's
out there.
it's probably very loosey goosey.
It probably
So
is.
you're not going to have much of a problem. And yes, I can help you with that. I've helped people in the UK, Australia, Canada, throughout the United States, and even in very highly difficult permitting areas like Los Angeles County. So it's not difficult. I've helped students around the world. So yeah, reach out. Let's talk. But get ready for a lot of concrete and rebar.
Probably won't be as
There we go.
expensive.
Okay, I'll let you read that, sweetie.
George Loco. I don't know. Okay. Hey, I am applying for a loan and I was asked to provide breakdowns. How would you go about addressing underestimating each line item with the lender?
Does it have
Yeah.
plans?
Yeah,
Do you have any plans?
Do you have plans for your house that you've sent out to bid?
You mean like-
Breakdown. So like, do they just our budget sheet, right? In our, what course, how do you get our budget
That
sheet?
budget sheet's in the self-managed course. It's also in the download section. It's in an Excel format. It's easy to work with.
But it is a cost breakdown of your whole
Right. It just
of
doesn't
the
have any
whole
numbers.
project. So it will help.
Yeah.
It it even helped when I send out plans to bid. It helps me. It's a reminder. Okay, I need to send it to this person, this person, this person, this person, and I check it off as I send out all the plans. And because there's like 50 subs on there that sometimes for a custom home, so it's just that will break it out for you. I don't know.
It's the best budget on the market. I've looked at a lot of other budgets that people try to sell. This is the most detailed budget that's out there. Now, if you were to do the first steps course, number 3 course, find out the best cost per square foot in your area. And this is just an inside kind of thing that a lot of builders do, especially a lot of builders that are building 15, 30 homes a year. They're going to put in very rough allowances on a lot of stuff, and they know where their numbers are, and they can whip it out of their pocket pretty quick. But that's also risky, especially with a very high-end home. So you have to go through the process. You have to actually get a design and then bid off the design. Otherwise, you're going to be in the dark, and that's not a place you want to be.
I just don't know what you mean by addressing underestimating each line item with the lender. So I don't know.
The budget, if you were to take the budget in that's fully detailed, and the bank's going to ask you, typically, not most, some do, they'll ask randomly 3 different bids, shows 3 different bids that will match those numbers on the budget. And if you go into a bank with the budget we have, they're going to go, wow, this person's ready to go. This is the most organized budget they will have ever seen. And so it's all positive. It's all beneficial for you. But again, you really can't do it without some design to actually get some numbers off of. So, okay. Next question. I'll have you read this one.
Okay.
I might be able to answer this.
Hyper Peak Remodeling. Is ChatGPT have any place in construction? Yes, it does for me. It helps me with my emails. I actually use ChatGPT when I send out plans to bid. It gives me like just a good format for an email. What else? That's mostly what I use it for.
Now I know
But-
the inside scoop. We had a client that said, "Hey, your daughter's being kind of mean in her emails," and so she used ChatGPT, and now her
That
emails
was 3 years ago.
I know, but since
And
then her emails are
I
pleasant
was
to read.
not rude. I was not rude. And
I know you weren't.
I'm actually like so sad that she said that because I was just following up on payment and she was mad that I didn't ask her about her life story.
I know.
And that was actually really hard.
I know it hurt my daughter.
wasn't-
I had a
wasn't a
client
good
that was
joke.
not easy to deal with.
Yeah.
And so, but I know now her emails, because I get copied on them. Always say something positive in your emails. It's a
Yeah.
pleasant day. Thanks for being with us on this job. We really appreciate it. And then give the email.
Mhm.
And so people will read and be considerate of what you need to do. That's the best place for Chat GTP, I would think. Anything else?
But I don't use it. I don't use it for anything else. No, I don't use it for anything else. Just that. When I need help on an email.
Yeah, Hyperpeak's a great remodeler here in town, in my local town. So if you need somebody to remodel, check out Hyperpeak. So, okay, next question. I'll let you read it because I can't read anything today.
I cannot see. Okay. I just need to make your screen. There we go. ZoobTube. Thoughts on first floor joist sitting on stem wall versus in notch/step stem wall with ledger. Pros/cons. What do
If
think?
you have the crawl space height, I would put it inset. You need at least 3 feet to do that, so the subcontractors can sit like this and move material. That's called top cord bear, and that's just, there's a double top plate usually, and then they set right on that top plate and they set inside. It's my favorite way. The pros of that is you don't have to have all that ledger board on the outside, and you have more insulation coverage on the inside and less draft. Plus, you bring your elevation of your home down. There's a lot of pluses. But you need all that clearance. You need at least a 3-foot stem wall clearance to kind of make that work right. So when you put it up too high, I've seen a lot of steps go to nowhere up high. I had a buddy of mine who sent me a picture of a home he did up north, and he had like 30 steps before he got to the home, to the front door in a cold climate, and the steps were on the north side of the house. Not very smart. So think in terms of all the elevation of how that affects your home, and dropping it down is a big plus. So you can even hanger it if you use TGAs and hang it right on that ledger board. I've seen that done quite a bit too. So check with your trust plant and see what they recommend.
I'll let you read it.
Okay, Lucy Rail. What about biomasonries such as hempcrete for humid tropical climates? It's a really good product. It doesn't get moldy. It doesn't attract mold. It's vapor permeable, so the vapor is going to permeate through it. It's not going to get trapped inside there. Hempcrete is a great product, and termites don't like it. Same thing with straw bale homes. People don't know that the straw from a straw bale homes are very impermeable to the same thing, especially if the straw is kept very, very dry throughout the entire life of the home. The hempcrete's a great product. Check it out. The problem is there's not a lot of labor that's knowledgeable about using these technologies. And when you watch a YouTube channel, most of them are owner builders trying to make something happen for themselves, and they just grin and bear it and figure it out how to do it. So yeah, it's a great product. I hope that down the road we can stop giving subsidies to corn and ethanol and give a lot more subsidies to hempcrete and growing the hemp plant, because it's the toughest plant you could ever produce. The stem on that was used to print the Gutenberg Bible, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution were all printed on hemp. In fact, all the founding fathers, they would rotate their crops, and one field would be hemp, and that's what they made paper out of. And it's a weed, and it grows super easy. It takes very little water. Why we're not growing that, I don't know. So
that was the same direction from he was building in Costa Rica.
Yeah, Costa Rica. Maybe they're growing hemp down there.
No.
I don't know. So, okay. TC, there are many skills that I have no experience in, such as hanging drywall, that when I research them fairly straightforward, I want to self-build as much as I can. How doable is it to learn these? It's really hard to mess up drywall. Skills from YouTube and then put into practice. Tiling, subfloor installation, sheathing, etc. It all seems straightforward once you learn the details. I don't want to go overboard either. If it's your first time, there's going to be some problems. Inside my bathroom, inside the toilet area, there's a tile that's just popping, and my tile guy just didn't set it right. And you could have not just one of those, but you could have a dozen of those if you don't set it and the tile guy, they just have a touch. They set it, and they know when they've got a good contact with the cement just underneath that. And if you don't have that fill, then you can have some dead spots. And the first time you drop something on that top, it's going to pop. You're going to have some problems. That's just one sub. That's just one area. And there's a lot of detail with that area. Hanging drywall might be easy. You might have some gaps, but tape and texturing is not going to be easy. Having a crew come in and do that, they can do it 50 times faster than you, literally that faster than you. And they can avoid excessive sanding. I could go on with each different subcontractor, but learn the one that saves you the most money. Learn the one that you can pick up within just literally a couple of weeks, and stick to that. A broom and a dustpan, that we all know how to do that. So that's obviously one to deal with. But do the things that you have either family or friends or yourself as a skill set, and don't try to do everything. You will be stressed. I mean, and it's not fun, and you will not enjoy the process. Again, you're already saving 10 to 15, 18% by not hiring a general contractor. That should be enough, to be honest with you, with a couple of other minor things during the course of the process. So just keep that in mind. You're saving a buttload just by owner building. Okay, next question. I'll read that. Woo Stella. Hey, Woo Stella. I like your picture profile. Looks like a little daughter or son. Have you used any AI software to generate the estimate? Nope. I wouldn't even go there. You want to know how many emails I get every day on companies wanting to come in and do all my bidding and estimating? Almost every day, 2 or 3 email every day. Somebody thinks that they can take that off my shoulders, and they can't. Do they know our subcontractors?
No, it's because I take that off your shoulders.
Yeah, so she does it.
Do you use AI to do it though?
No, I don't. I like a home is just, I don't know. It's just so important to get right and to get a perfect budget. I almost want the full control where I know everything's right and I didn't leave it to chance. Like, I don't know, but I have nothing against AI, but I guess I'm not up to date. I don't even know how you use it for estimating.
I don't see any way AI could do that. Not in my wildest imaginations could they, because they don't know what the costs are for each of my subcontractors. They can't get inside their heads. And it may take a long time for them to do that, but I wouldn't even trust it, because can that AI back it up with an actual contract? No. That's what AI can't do. It can't warranty it. They can't back it up, and they can't say this bid is good for 45 or 120 days.
Yeah.
I can't even do that.
Because you want to get 2 to 3 bids to put into your estimate. You put the highest estimate into your bid when you go to get the loan. Budget. Sorry, thanks. And so when you do that, then you have that, and you know that you have a resource. Like, we're going to use Joe because his bid came in here, where AI know the bids in different locations.
Okay, next question. Have you used the software? Okay, JC, question for a minimum total side yard. The zoning requirement is 25 feet, but the current house only has 8 in the left and 10 in the right.
Keep going.
For a new addition, should it be calculated only for the new part? For example, 15 feet in the left and 10 in the right, or also need to consider the minimum of the current house, e.g. 15 left. They're going to go on to the new code. Your current home is grandfathered in, but they're not going to give you a permit to exceed that. They're going to force you into the new setback rules. And there's some avenue to get away from that, and it's called a variance, but they're not easy to get. Variances are really, really hard. I know I'm on a planning commission. I've seen variances come through, and it's been brutal. They actually go into a secret room most of the time and talk about it. And you have to fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 criteria to even meet for the threshold for a variance. So, and if you don't hit that threshold, then if they were to give you a variance and they didn't give somebody a variance based on the same factors, then that county could be sued, and that's something they don't want to go for. So variances are very hard to go after. So, but you can go into a permitting office and ask them and say, hey, I got this situation. What do you suggest? What can I do? Or is there anything I can do? If not, let me know. Just go talk with them. Okay. Chase, ginger lemon tea is good for the throat. Thank you.
I'm making it right now.
Not ice water, especially when your voice is as an asset. Yes. So I'm feeling a lot better than last week. Last week was pretty brutal, but it takes a while to get over a flu. It takes some time. Okay. Hi, when are you going to do the market to update? I've been taking a lot of notes on that, and I'm probably going to produce that next week. We were in the middle of doing a CO on a home and getting it done this week, so it really took my time. But I've got a lot of notes, and we'll be doing it probably next Monday or Tuesday, and we'll push that out. So anyway, good question. Yeah, very, very good question.
I don't know when that
So
will come out. We have a couple videos in
George Loco, I have a customer who wants to add a walkout to an existing basement and also add a bedroom addition and also a house remodel. Is it smart to throw majority for the remodel versus the addition?
Oh, and then one more part of it.
Good question. Would you say hiring an in-house team for finish is a smart move versus getting subcontractors? Hiring in-house. I don't know what you mean by in-house. If you're a builder and you have people in-house, then yeah, that's smart. It's an expense on your income. We do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have people in-house in your company, yeah, do that. Use it as an expense. With regard to the other one versus a remodel versus the addition, that's a hard question. My real concern is that if they're going to do a cut in for a wall for that addition, is it in the basement, or do you have a bond beam that's going to be able to hold the weight when you cut into the concrete? That's my question. And if you don't, now we're talking about a lentil support. Once that concrete's cut out, then you got to put a lentil in there. So I just mentored a person on this a couple of months ago, and they're going for a lentil. They're actually cutting a concrete. I did that on a home. It was a bathroom window, and the bathroom window was just perfectly wide enough for a door after it was bucked. So we just cut it straight down. So I knew I already had a bond beam above that window, so I was good to go.
What?
So that's my biggest question: is what kind of rebar you have inside that concrete there. Let's go if I can find it here.
Does it?
Let's see, George.
So this next one.
That one.
There you go.
Okay, I'll read this one. Retrainer. I haven't seen that one for a while. I'm doing a 5-inch single pour slab grate on grade with PEX hydronic heating, 450 psi with fiber and rebar. Should my concrete subs do vibrating pencil or screed? They think no, but they're less experienced though. Vibrating pencil or screed? Does he have not heard those terms before?
I have not heard that either.
Looks like you got fiber and rebar, pencil and screed. I'm not sure what you mean by pencil and screed though. It's a good
A
question.
vibrating screed or vibrating pencil is a tool used in concrete work to level and compact fresh concrete,
Okay.
producing a smoother, more uniform surface.
Not necessarily. It depends on the aggregate content. Thank you. From the pit. Now, if your concrete pit has a large aggregate that could be in excess of 2 inches, and it could be as big as 3 inches, then that aggregate can actually get close to the surface. For the slab, I'm not too worried about. For exterior drives, I am worried about it, because if in the exterior, if one of those large pebbles or rocks or boulders gets to the surface, water can get in underneath there, especially in a cold climate, freeze that and pop and start spalling the concrete. In the inside, you're not going to have that much of a problem, but they have a tamper that's got a mesh on the bottom, and when the concrete is poured and they level off, they just go and tamp it. So all the big stuff gets pushed to the bottom, and you've got some mud at the top. So you can ask them, how do they tamp down their concrete, and then find out how big the aggregate is. And if it's not too big, you shouldn't worry. If the slump is just perfect for a pourer, they will get the large aggregate down there, and it shouldn't be popping up. A good crew should know how to do that. And they may end up adding water a little bit to give them more time to make that happen.
It's a 6-inch pour.
If it's a 6-inch pour, yeah, there's gonna be some aggregate about that big. It could even be even bigger. If they say no, ask them what's the typical aggregate size of the concrete. It might tell, but tell them you want it tamped down. The vibrator, the problem they don't like about the vibrator is it produces too much water at the surface, and then it's hard to manipulate. And then it takes a long time to dry. They want to stiffen up that top as quick as they possibly can. And so that's probably why they may not do that. But tamping it, they could do that. So, okay, good question. Robert, roofers use the second floor windows for roof access. They took metal roofing material across the base of the window. They're going to have to be replaced. Isn't that a cost that should be charged back? Yep, it should be. If they damage something during the course of the construction, which was not part of their original thing, they should have that replaced. And that's a headache. Trying to get drywall up at any other time and even roofing materials without an access like that, it can be a difficult process. And you don't want to look at that vinyl on that window, see how damaged it is, and talk to your window guy and say, hey, is this so damaged that it has to be replaced, or does it just need to be touched up and cleaned up? So ask your window guy to come in and give you a bid on that, and then charge back on it. Say, hey, and take pictures, document everything you can. Okay.
Take a drink.
Okay, I'll read the next one. DC. Hi, I'm interested in building a quadplex as an investment property. Could you provide information on the payment terms for new construction investment property loans? Thank you.
Not a lender, but it depends on whether this is private money or bank money. If it's private money, that's hard money, and it can go hard pretty quickly, and they can create some terms to grab the whole project, and you don't want to do that. So you want to find out, I don't know if you're trying to go after an SBA loan or if you're going a bank lending loan, how much equity you have. That's going to be the key. If you own the property, you're going to be in a controlling interest, and you want to try to stay in a controlling interest as long as you can. But keep in mind, if you have land and you want to do a quadplex, a fourplex on there, you're going to have to give that land up to either a lender or to a bank and to subordinate it during the course of construction, which means you're not going to be in first position anymore. It means the person with the deepest pockets is going to be in first position. And I don't like that position. I like to be like on some of the specs we do, we're pretty much in first position economically until we actually touch that money. And so a good builder can finance his own stuff, and we're close to that. We're halfway on the ability to be able to finance some projects. And that way you're in first position. You're in control of it. And so
I do have a question, though. Someone actually called me this week and asked, because they were talking about spec homes and building a home, living in it for 2 years, then selling it, and you don't get taxed capital gains, right? So the question was, if you do like a duplex or something like that, can you do the same thing?
Yes, you can.
I didn't
And
know that.
That's actually ideal if you can do that. If you do a duplex, live in one, rent out the other, it will.
Or a
help pay-
fourplex?
Or
So-
a fourplex. Yep, you'll have all that rental income coming in, and then helps pay for yours. And there's actually special loan programs, but you're going to have to talk to a lender and different banks, because there are some special programs for duplexes and fourplexes for owner builder. Well, I'm pretty sure it's for owner builders, or even if you're just building it. There are some really cool programs for that. So
Yeah.
check it out.
yeah, if you're not building a revenue model inside your home these days, you're not ready for the future. And I think the best people, owner builders, they're building a revenue model inside their home as they build it. And it may be just a mother-in-law's apartment, which later could be something else. But start thinking like that. I'm going to be doing a video on a very phenomenal design that I spent a lot of time on with the client. And it's going to have 2 rentals embedded in the home, and you can't even tell. It's going to be really slick and really cool. And the trick is working with cities to bypass any issues that might have. And all you have to do is say, this is a multi-generational home, and these are mother-in-law apartments. And it's great. It's think in more and more in those terms. I took an old pioneer home, and it was bad, restored it. We lived in it for a while. Then we did an addition, and then we rented it for a while. And now my mother lives in there. And if when she goes, we'll put it back to a rental. So that's really advantageous, and it's really great for remodels, especially with remodels that have these extra deep lots. And a lot of old homes in inner cities and larger metro areas that have been established for some time, they have large lots, and you can do all kinds of stuff. One of these days, I'll do a complete video of the whole complex that I built over the years. But yeah, think in terms of revenue on your own. Good question. I'm installing a one-piece plastic shower encased next to a firewall on 3 sides. Do I drywall it first, then installing shower wall and drywall it twice over to cover the edges on the sides? No, you don't. you just screw it right to the stud factor. It's a complete unit, and then they have little notches where they screw and they put it right to the frame structure. But you want to make sure that that concrete is as level as you possibly can. Talk with your subcontractor. If it's a slab on grade, you got to tell them, make sure that's as level as you can, because you don't want that tub rocking. If it's on a floor, a TGI, TNG floor, regular subfloor, same thing. But those just get bolted, and then the drywall comes on top of that, and then of course the tile goes all the way around that. I've seen people do it with drywall, but you just lose space. Why lose a half-inch space into your bathroom and get it tucked back in there? So, good question. Pros and cons for keeping the current foundation or build from new. Cost, timeline, house value, etc. wise. Talking about 1,000 square foot current foundation and build a 3,500 square foot floor house, 2-floor house. Your engineer, you can talk with your engineer and say, is there any way to keep this? But it may be cost prohibitive to keep it. It may be so much in the way that keeping it makes it harder to streamline the build around it rather than just bust it up and take it out. And tying it in with rebar to the next build, it may not even be the right footing. It may look at the foundation, how good it's in, if it's got some cracks, if it's got some settling problems, all that. So there's a lot of things to weigh here. And I would talk with an engineer first and see if there's any way to save this. And I've done that many times on homes. I've tried to save as much foundation as I possibly could and make things work. So just talk with an engineer and see what their recommendation is without seeing it, because I really can't tell. I had a gentleman sent me a picture of a home that was cracked inside. There was no rebar. There was almost an 1.5 inch separation in a lot of the cracks. It was really, really bad. And he didn't want to replace the foundation. He just wanted to mask over it. And I go, you're cruising for a bruising. And he didn't want to hear me. So don't be very careful is what I'm saying. So, okay, Jesse Hernandez. How do you feel about post-tension versus all rebar slab or grade in Texas and deal with a lot of clay soils? I'm not a fan of post-tension at all. Just imagine wires running through your slab, and they're tied off by bolts at both ends. And then after the concrete's cured, they tighten the heck out of that. And they keep all that foundation tied together by these rods. Well, if you ever need to move a toilet and you cut through the rod, the entire foundation is toast. So I'm not a fan of those. I'd rather try to ameliorate the soil or get a bit larger spread footing and see what I need to do. Now, I don't know how deep your expansive soils are. Look at your soils report. I was just looking at a soils report earlier today, and the max in my particular area is if an expandable clay soil is at least 17 feet or beyond that, then we're pretty safe. But if it's closer within 17 feet, then they make you dig out the entire thing, recompact it with native soils, and get that clay soil out of there. But I don't know what it is for your area. And that's why a geotech report's very, very helpful. It's going to tell you, hey, this might just be a 2 foot over X remove and repacked with better soils. And that to me would be more beneficial than post-tension. So I know people do post-tension. I know a lot of commercial things do it, but there's risks. You can't move a sewer line ever. You can't cut into that concrete ever, or the entire tension that's holding all that concrete together is lost, and you've lost your foundation. Who knows what's going to happen to it after that? So good question. Good question. Next question. TC, what are the most manageable things to learn how to do yourself? A dustpan and a broom. A dustpan and a broom. That's the first. Grading, getting rid of rocks and debris, going to the dump, hauling stuff into the dump. That's the most manageable. Putting a sign on there. We turn that sign around, sweetie. Putting a sign on your property.
Oh, it's all dirty.
Yeah, kind of like that. and you say, clean your site every day, every trade, and we put it in Spanish as well. So, and things like that you can do to maintain cleanliness, order, protection of materials. If it's a rainy day and they've got some lumber just laying out in the dirt, bring it inside to the garage, get it out of the exposed elements, keeping things orderly like that, making sure dumpsters are emptied at the right time. These things like that are going to be a plus. I've seen people, I've worked for clients, and they would come on a job site and they look like this. They have their, and they would just stare at people all day long. And they wouldn't pick up anything. They wouldn't take care of their own properties. Be communicable. That's the next thing you do. It says, hey, I'm interested in learning this. How did you learn how to do this? Gads, there's so much knowledge on the job site. That's what I do. I just talk with guys and be friendly with them and stuff like that. And they'll go the distance for you. They'll enjoy working for you. I was talking with John, my concrete guy, and we were talking about a job. I wanted to ask him what the cost is for tinting concrete. I was just curious. And he says, I haven't done one in a while. And I go, yeah, the last one we did was that home down there in Vail. He says, oh, I remember that family. They were so fun to work with. They were great people. And he goes, that's rare. And he went over and above and did some special things for them. So communication, broom, dustpan, keeping things orderly, make sure materials are outside of the elements. These are just no-brainers to make sure that they're happening. Okay? How much can a finished basement add to the appraisal value compared to an unfinished basement? My appraisal came back at $750 with taking into account the basement being unfinished. I'm hoping to add more value to the appraisal to cut down my cash at closing. And I'm curious if adding in the finished basement will help a lot with that. Basement is that's a big basement.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
so,
big.
the framing shouldn't be too much. That's the big part. And I wouldn't do a basement that is not at least framed, because the guys are there. It's not that hard to frame it up real quick and see if you can negotiate a price for that. After that, it's the electrical. Once the electrical in, the cheapest after that is drywall and insulation. And by then it's just flooring, and you can buy a cheap, affordable carpet.
Or you can just seal the concrete.
Or you can just seal the concrete. You can polish the concrete with a clear polish. We're doing that on a job right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that can save you some money, and it's called finished. So you can say it's finished, and have two budgets and say, okay, this is without it being finished, and here's with it being finished. And you can ask framers can you partition this out for me? I'm just wanting to see what it would be if I added the basement. Give me that on a separate line item.
But I don't know how much it would add to the appraisal. Do you know, Mom?
Just to let you know on appraisals that you do get a little bit more, but the main, if you look at your appraisal, they're going to give the main level that you walk in the front door. That always has a higher price per square foot on the appraisal. That's what's like the most important. And then a lower level or an upper level is a percentage of that. I'm not an appraiser, so I can't give you the exact amount, but it's going to be a portion. But on the appraisal, it will say what it is, price per square foot on the main level. And even if you went half, it would give you more. And then it depends too. Are you going to put a casita in there, a full kitchen downstairs? It's what you put downstairs will make a difference. Also, how many bedrooms and bathrooms, that all makes a difference on an appraisal also. So there's lots of variables.
Yeah, we just decided to add concrete in a basement that was originally a stem wall. Now it's higher because the county made me raise the foundation. And it was so important. Both of these ladies here said, let's add the concrete. Let's say it's finished. And so, or unfinished even, and that's going to add value because it was 537 square feet, something like that. And so we're going after it, add it to the value of the home.
Mm-hmm.
So
because it's air conditioned space, right? Appraisers don't count the garage as air conditioned space for an appraisal part because it's living air conditioned space.
Right. Okay. Next question. Bradley James.
No, wait, Dixie now.
Okay, thoughts on light gauge steel metal framings. There are reasonable panelized companies near me. Exterior insulation for energy efficiency, make it worth it. If you do a full exterior insulation on that, it would be beneficial. If not, the metal is going to conduct all the way through the home. You need a thermal break on the outside, which is a new code. And then you have to find framers who are going to be happy working with it. It's loud, it's noisy, it's not fun to cut. And then it takes a little more materials for electrical. You have to have grommets through there so the electrical doesn't get spliced and cut up. It's almost like a commercial build. And so I'm not too much of a fan. I've done some remodels. I've done some commercial jobs with it. So I'm very familiar with it. But I don't like using it myself. If I were doing it myself, I would rather cut with a stud because I have some meat to nail into. With those, it's all screws. It's all screws, self-tapping screws, and they have to one at the top, two at the bottom, and that's it. And that they can still hold pictures and windows. They can still hold stuff like that, but I'm just not much of a fan of them. The good thing is they don't twist and warp in the air. They just sit there. They're galvanized. They're not going to go anywhere, and they're not going to get destroyed. That's the big plus. So there's some pros and cons with everything. Yo-yo, how much should I expect to pay for standing seam in SoCal? Not close to ocean. I don't know. That could be $425 a square. That could be as low as $350 a square. I would probably estimate around $525 to $650 a square. And a square is a 10 by 10 section on a roof. 10 foot by 10 foot. That's a square. And then it also depends on the pitch of the roof. So I couldn't tell you, but probably in the high sixes, I would guess, depending upon the product. So Gregor Deris, deck and lightweight concrete for second floor, steel framed deck. Oh, lightweight concrete.
For second floor.
Yeah. That's that white concrete, if I'm correct. It's a lightweight concrete. Make sure your foundation's fine. Still framed. I've seen it done. I've seen it done on a lot of mountain homes where the car has to drive in and there's a basement and the car has to sit on that concrete. It's the corrugated metal product. A lot of commercial jobs use it and they pour 5 to 6 inches of concrete right on top of that. And it's a lightweight concrete. You just have to find the people who know how to install that. They know how to use that, but it can be done. If you have to do any remodel, though, it's pretty brutal. It's not fun to work with after the fact. But yeah, it's possible. I've seen a lot of homes do that. Plex 599W. Hi. What are your thoughts on on-site of off-site construction in terms of prefabricated floor wall panels versus on-site built deck? Thank you. I'm an on-site stick built guy. I know a lot of talent. I know a lot of framers. I know a lot of good skilled craftspeople to handle that. I know more that know how to do that than how to deal with the panelized construction. And a lot of those panelized constructions require special installers from the manufacturer. When you really add it all up, it's not any cheaper. It's actually more. And so, but they can sell you on ease and quick and speed, and they can sell you on all these things. But it just complicates things for the plumber. It complicates things really badly for the electrician. And a lot of electricians won't even touch it. And so our labor prices here are pretty low. If your labor prices, like if you're in like Los Angeles and your framing is $29, $32, $36 a square foot, and a panelized crew can come out of, say, South Dakota on a diesel and come in and undercut the labor costs, then that might be beneficial. But you have to look at your labor costs locally, and can you compete against those labor costs? And if you can't, stick with what local labor can do for you. That's the best advice I can give you. Okay, Justin Hancock, can you read that, sweetie?
Mm-hmm.
Keith, if you used a liquid applied, what's
WRB.
WRB? Water bait? Liquid
Like
applied. Like Prosecco, R-Guard for your air barrier on the walls. What product will you use for the roof to continue the air barrier?
I don't know, to be honest with you, because I don't create an air barrier in my walls. I'm more concerned with vapor permeability than anything else. I shut air off at the base foundation of a home, and that's your weakest link. And then when it comes to outlets, I spray foam around all my outlets for exterior and interior, and that stops my air movement substantially, quite a bit. I wouldn't want to put a product that actually stops the flow of both air or vapor permeability. You're kind of cruising for a bruising there. But if you do the minor things, and most installation inspections, they actually look for all the gaps to be filled up. But the weakest link is get on the floor of the slab, or even get on the floor of the subfloor and get real close to where that bottom plate is and look underneath that. More than likely, you're going to see a lot of air gaps. That's your weakest link. So if you can seal that on the outside, you're going to solve, I would say, 30% of your problem. And then if you do the spray foam around all the outlets, that's going to solve all your major airflow. That's as far as I would go. But if your local permitting office requires something different because of your weather and other issues in your particular area, check with them and ask them how far they would go and what they actually require. Okay, Rascal Z, designing our lake home. I want to reduce square footage and cost. I'd love to hear your thought process on where to make cuts. Main level, walkout basement, bonus room above the garage, stairs, RV bay. Get rid of the RV bay.
Maybe Mackenzie could talk about this.
I'll let my daughter talk about this.
Oh, it's so hard because I'm going through that right now where I have 3,100 square feet, and I'm trying to get it down to 2,500 square feet. And it's hard. And I have an RV garage on mine, but it is really hard. I feel like I don't.
Brady Morgan, you want me to put his comment up?
Oh yeah, what's his? Because I've been looking into like small floor plans, like tight spaces, trying to convert my floor plan to that. What did he say?
He said, okay, let me get on.
Okay. Thanks, Brady. So he put the design. The design makes a big difference. The more complex the foundation, framing, roof, lines, pitches, etc., the more expensive it will be in both materials and labor. The easiest way to go is to save by the design. Simple on the design.
Yeah, and honestly, it all starts at your floor plan. So I've been trying to find the perfect floor plan, getting ideas of small spaces. Like I've been looking a lot at like 2,000 square foot homes and how they utilize space and trying to copy that pretty much. So it is really hard. That's a good question. It's hard because like you want so much and it's like, what are you willing to just give up if you're trying to cut back, so.
It's hard because that RV garage is 15 feet plus typically. And so you can't utilize the open air for any kind of bonus room. It's really the biggest open cavity you could possibly imagine. And I did some research a long time ago when I worked for a nonprofit housing organization. And we figured out with massive research around the country with the United States Department of Agriculture that what the cost of the garage is. And the cost averages around 20% of the home. So if you've got an RV car garage and then you've got a double car garage on top of that, that could amount to almost 30 to 35% of the total cost of the home. And so is it worth giving up living space for storage space?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to weigh that very, very carefully. And when we did that study, we actually started to reduce the size of garages. We were doing garages that were 26 feet deep. We reduced them to 22 feet deep. And then we actually shrunk them a little bit to help with, first-time home buyers. It was that much of an issue that we started shrinking the garage. So look at your plans, look at that RV, look at the garage, look at how much that is actually costing. And then look at the return on in value. My daughter's possibly going to build in a neighborhood, and just about every home has an RV garage. So it might work for her in her market. But if you're in another market and nobody has an RV garage and you're shooting the cost of a home above a certain level because of that RV garage, it might be harder to resell. So these are all the things you have to weigh. And to be honest with you, RVs aren't going to preserve their value any better whether they're inside or out. They drop in value like a bat out of hell. They're not very good investments. So why cover something that's losing its value year after year? I mean, the carport might even be better to deal with, something with just the protection. And if you protect the tires alone, that's going to carry it on for quite some time. But think about that. We're putting a lot of money into an RV garage, and what's the real return on investment? It's not very good at all. So, good question, though.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. One more question here. What fastener or approach, this is from Justin Hancock, approach would you use to secure half stucco and lath through of foam to one half a sheet wall on 2x6, 24 inches on center? You got a problem there. I'm going to explain that in a second. Looking for the most cost-effective approach. I like as many studs as I can because I tell my lath guys to hit the studs as much as you possibly can. Because I don't like reaching in studs and then doing all kinds of electrical. And I used to get cut up all the time with all the staples that would come through. If you're going to go 24 inches on center, I would thicken your sheeting because you're going to have a lot of staples. They're going to come through. Foam, actually your paper, double layer paper, could be tar paper. Then your foam, if you do that in your area. Some areas don't do foam because of weather issues. And then your gray coat after the lath, and you can staple the lath on there. But I'll have to give you my personal opinion. I'm not a very big fan of the traditional lath because I just did a remodel, and a friend of mine that I'm doing a build for, he showed me pictures of a home that was recently built within 10 years in a very arid climate, and they busted out the stucco. All of the wire mesh inside that had already rusted. And so it's not holding anything. So that wire mesh is not good. And there's other products out there that I'm looking into. And so I'm hoping to maybe change the game a little bit. I'm just worried about some of the cost on some of that stuff. And we're talking about fiberglass mesh instead of wire mesh, and maybe even a mineral wool instead of foam. But there's stucco is the cheapest to put on a home, but it also has its downfalls if you don't use some of the better products that are out there. And I'm hoping to do some videos this summer on some better ways to do stucco. So stay tuned. Okay, anything else?
There's a whole bunch.
I got a call here in just a few. I'll take one more question.
You have to go? Okay.
I'll take one more question. Thanks, sweetie.
Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry.
Kansas Plowboy. That's a good name. I watched your videos on OmniBlock and have already spoke to a GC with over a decade of experience in OmniBlock here in Florida. I'm not in Kansas anymore. Cool. That's great to know. Let Denny know where you got some information on the OmniBlock. And if you look at my videos, you look at it's one called The Most Energy Efficient Home I've Ever Built. It's in my series, and it's probably 2 years ago. Look for that, and I give a full walkthrough on that home. Plus, I interviewed Denny on OmniBlock, and he went through the whole specs on OmniBlock. So that's good to hear. So I'm glad his business is running and going smoothly. Everybody in Florida should be building with OmniBlock, period. Everybody in Haiti, anybody that has a tornado, that has hurricanes or any kind of an issue like that, should be building with OmniBlock. End of story. Thanks. We'll end it there. We'll be back here next Thursday. Save your messages. You can also message the instructor at How to Build Your Own Home. I will print them up, and if you can't be here during live session, I will read those questions off first next week. But again, if you haven't looked at howtobuildyourownhome.com, check it out. Take the First Steps course, or if you want to take the Self-Managed course, it includes the First Steps course. But please, please, please do the First Steps course first. It's going to really get your feet grounded, and you're going to be able to shoot for the skies and be prepared and be well managed. So that's my best advice, and a lot of build breaking ground throughout the country right now. I'm kind of excited, and look for the new market report probably the next week. So you guys take care, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.